Hey everybody, it looks like we are live. I see some activity in the comments already, very nice. So go ahead and just let me know, can you hear me and can you see my screen? You should see a screen that says how to get a $70,000 plus job as a data analyst, etc. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me and if you can see my screen. John says yes. Tiffany, yes, loud and clear. John, I hear and see you. Pedro, yes. Tiffany, clear. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And by the way, there's a little bit of a lag between me asking a question and me getting your responses. I think there's a few seconds between me saying something and you hearing it. So if I don't answer you right away, that's why. So let's just wait a couple minutes for people to get on, and in the meantime, let me know in the chat, what do you guys what kind of jobs do you do, or if you're not working right now, what kind of job do you normally do when you are working? Just get an idea of where everyone's coming from here. John says forklift operator. Oh, very nice. You're gonna like this presentation. I'm gonna talk directly to you. Emmanuel says, I see and hear you. Cool. Jessica, management. Tiffany, student again. Servali, chartered accountant, financial analyst. OBA's admin. Sarah, warehousing. Faisal, self-employed. Tony, teach math and physics. Marin, I was a flight attendant. Edwardian Ed, field service technician. Simon, customer service. Thomas, convenience store manager. Viba, financial services. John, I trade the Forex. Oh, very cool. Carol, writer, editor. Ruby's a student. Oksana is a call center job. Gotcha. Lepton Neutrino, account executive. Sorry if I mispronounce any of your names, by the way. Tiffany, soldering tech. Oh, very cool. Nicole's a nurse. CAR, work from home. Eshetu, engineer in the oil and gas. Very nice. Bihi Helu, I'm sorry, I'm sure I said that wrong. Accountant. Tiffany, 2 degrees in pre-pharmacy and pre-physical therapy, but did not use them. I gotcha. Yeah, a lot of people are in that boat. Karen, billing analyst, lab assistant. Emmanuel, retired electronics engineer. Oh, and you do SQL. Very nice. Rajesh, software tester. Telly, did data entry. Nicole, self-employed. Josephine, retired now, used to prepare personal small business taxes. Sarah, inventory control. Lily, accounting clerk. Gloria, HR consulting. Geraldino, mechanical engineer. Newcomer in Canada. Emmanuel, video and photography. Steve, power equipment operator. Balaguru, business analyst. Okay, that's pretty similar to a data analyst. Pedro, care provider and medtech. Very cool, very cool. So we got a big variety of folks on the presentation here, so that's awesome. So let's go ahead and get started now. Give a couple minutes for everybody to get on the presentation. As you can see, what you're going to learn in this presentation is how to get a $70,000 plus job as a data analyst, even if you have no experience, no skills, and no college degree. So the first question probably a lot of you are asking here is, so what is a data analyst anyway? Anybody here, before you ran into me, you've never heard of a data analyst? Like you've never even heard the term data analyst before? Probably a few. By the way, if I don't get to your comment, it's because there's kind of a lag between me asking the question and me getting your answer. So sorry about that. Okay, so a data analyst, well, here's the situation. Basically, companies have a ton of information that are stored in big databases, which are basically just groups of data tables. So if you ever heard the term big data before, that's what it's talking about. And the people who make decisions in those companies often have a hard time figuring out what their data actually means. So they hire people called data analysts to translate the data into something that they can easily understand. So here's an example. So your data might look like this picture on the left. That's what your raw data looks like. It's just a bunch of rows and columns, and it's very hard to figure out anything meaningful from looking at the data in this way. And so what your job is as a data analyst is to turn it into something like the picture on the right, which is very clear what it means. It's very obvious to someone who is a manager or a decision maker can look at this chart and see what the data is telling them in a meaningful way. So that's your job as a data analyst. Now, this is super valuable to every kind of business because having a good view of their data lets them make better decisions. And making better decisions makes them more money. So companies in every industry hire data analysts. But there's one problem, and that is that there aren't very many people who have the skills to do this kind of work. So here's my data analysis presentation of the situation, right? There's this big number of companies that need data analysts, and then there's this small number of people who are actually data analysts or who are actually have the skills to be data analysts. And in fact, companies are kind of freaking out about this. It's something they refer to as the data skills gap. And so I went and took some screenshots of some articles about companies and industry publications that are complaining about this. So like this one says, the data skills gap, hindering organizations from becoming data driven. How to close the big data skills gap by training your IT staff. Bridging the data skills gap in L&D. 5 ways to solve the data skills gap. The data skills gap is impeding productivity. Like this is all over the place in the business literature. And so what that means for you is that if you're a data analyst, then companies have to pay high salaries and good benefits to compete with other companies to get data analysts to work for them. In fact, a lot of companies pay outside recruiting firms tens of thousands of dollars just to find data analysts to work for them. So these are companies whose sole purpose in life is to find qualified employees for other companies, right? And so these companies that want to hire data analysts are paying a whole bunch of money to these recruiting companies to find them data analysts. And in fact, I get a lot of emails and a lot of calls from these recruiters that are trying to hire me as a data analyst. And so I just took a few for my email. I took a few screenshots. Within a day or two. I'm not even looking for work, by the way. I don't even have myself listed as a data analyst on LinkedIn. These are people that are finding me based on 7-year-old resumes that I left on Monster like ages ago, right? And so they're basically cold emailing and cold calling people who have no interest in finding a job or finding a new job. And they're looking at ancient resumes in order to do it. Like that's how desperate these companies are to find people that are qualified for these jobs. Now, have you ever heard a career coach tell you that the way that you should get a job is to follow a company on social media or offer to work for free? Or what do they say? Like take the HR people out to coffee or read all about the company on the what do you call them? The business newsletters, that kind of thing. Basically bow down and kiss their feet, right? Well, if you're a data analyst, it's the opposite. The company goes out of its way to impress you and get you to want to work there. So what that means for you, well, it means they pay high salaries, right? They have to pay you a good salary if they want to convince you to work for them instead of for the other company. They have to pay you great benefits, right? They give you generous paid time off. They give you good health insurance. You get a lot more flexibility, right? If you want to work from home several days a week, or even if you want to work from home full time, there are a lot of data analyst jobs that are full time work from home, or work on the road, whatever you want. Or if you need special hours, right? Maybe you homeschool your kids and you want to work odd hours. Then they're much more likely to work with you because, again, they kind of have to take what they can get. There aren't that many people that are qualified. And then another thing is that you get a lot more respect. And I don't think this is right. I think companies should respect all of their employees, but the fact of the matter is that if the company needs you, if the company is afraid to lose you, generally they treat you with a lot more respect than if you're, just somebody that if you quit they could replace tomorrow, right? So you get a lot more respect in this position than a lot of other positions. Now, I took a few screenshots. I went through some job postings and found some that actually listed the salary range right in the job posting, just so you can get an idea of what the salary range actually is. So, 56 to 84K, 77K to 145K, $60 to $70 per hour, which, I mean, if you double it, that's about the yearly. So it's like 120 to 140,000 per year, 50 to 63 hourly, etc. So that gives you an idea of what the payment is. And it also means that you don't have to worry about losing your job, right? And what I mean is this competitive situation, this so-called data skills gap. It means you don't have to worry about losing your job, because if you do lose your job as a data analyst, it's really easy just to find another job. So it's not something you're ever going to lose sleep over. And you don't have to put up with being mistreated. Like I said, the company is probably going to treat you very well because they need you. But even if they don't, even if they mistreat you, then again, it's no sweat on your back to just quit and find another job. Now, another benefit is that you have tons of prospects for career growth, because you're the go-to person for the managers and the directors, right? They're coming to you all the time asking for help in making their decisions, right? They need the data that you provide in order to help them make their decisions. So you have a ton of face time with the managers and the directors. So if you're looking to climb the corporate ladder and get into management, then this is about the best possible way you could do it, because the people who are already making those promotion decisions are coming to you constantly asking for your help. And that's not even the only way to go. I mean, if as far as career advancement, right? You can be a data scientist. That's a job that's really hot right now. Like if you look at Glassdoor's list of the best jobs in the world, data scientist is number 2 on the list. And that's something it's similar to a data analyst, but it's quite a bit more complicated. So being a data analyst is a very good kind of halfway step in order to be a data scientist, or you can be a database administrator. There's a whole bunch of ways to go from there. And then if you want to work from home, then there are a lot of data analyst jobs that are fully remote. In fact, I went and did a search on LinkedIn and just looked for data analyst jobs that were remote within the US, just US companies, and I got 6,228 results, right? This is just one point in time for data analyst jobs that are fully remote. And in fact, I've worked as a fully remote data analyst, and I even took a snip of my offer letter where it says located virtually. That means that's a fancy way of saying that it's remote. So are you guys getting this so far? Like, do you guys understand why this is such a great career path? Let me know in the chat. Just give me a yes if you're with me so far. Oh, and by the way, if you have questions, then save them for the end. I will take questions at the end. Ruby says yes. Josephine says yes. Balaguru says yes. Bell's database admin. Oh, very nice. John says yes. Esha2 says yes. Okay, wonderful. So, sounds like everybody's still with me. So, let me tell you just really quick who I am. My name is Chris Shoup. I'm a self-taught data analyst since 2014, so I kind of stumbled onto this path by accident. I didn't have any kind of formal education in it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that happened in a minute. I worked for big and small companies and medium-sized companies. Some of the more recognizable companies I've worked for: Salesforce, Ernst & Young, American Express, Nielsen. And my hobby is helping other people upgrade their careers and their lives. So if you poked around my YouTube channel a little bit, you probably noticed that that's basically 100% of my YouTube content is helping people upgrade their careers and their lives. And this is a picture of me here working hard in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So here's how I stumbled onto this career path completely by accident. I went to college because my parents and my guidance counselors told me that was the responsible thing to do. I got decent grades and graduated on time with a degree in economics. Now this was 2010, and I started looking for the so-called good job that was supposed to be my reward for sitting in classrooms for an extra 4 years. Long story short, I went an entire year without being able to find a full-time job. Not just a good job, but any full-time job. Nobody wanted me. I lived in a tiny bedroom in my dad's house, and I was totally depressed and miserable. This is a pretty accurate picture of me at the time. So one day I got the bright idea to go back to school, right? And me and my brilliance, I figured that, oh, well, since 4 years of school had done me no good whatsoever, why don't I go back to school? You know, not the smartest decision I've ever made. So anyway, I spent the next 2 years and $18,000 in debt to get an MBA. That's a master's in business. During that MBA program, I managed to get a summer internship doing market research. It paid $15 an hour, which was amazing for me at that time, but it was dead boring. Basically just looking up information on the internet and putting it into PowerPoint slides. So to make the job more interesting, I started learning how to do fancy stuff with Excel spreadsheets. Just really something I was doing just because I was bored. And I actually really enjoyed it. But that internship only lasted 1 summer, and I went back to school. I graduated and I started looking for jobs again. I didn't find anything exciting, but I did finally manage to get hired at a boring paper-pushing desk job. I got hired mostly because of my Excel skills, plus a 2-hour online course I took on SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. But it was interesting that I had gone through basically 6 years of college here, and I got hired not because of my 6 years of college, but because of the little bit of time I had spent learning things on the internet. Now this job only paid $38,000 a year, but at least it was a real job. At least it was a full-time job, so I was pretty happy with it at the time. Anyway, even though that job was just routine work that didn't require any kind of special skills, it was mostly just kind of copying and pasting, and that's why I call it paper pushing. It's like digital paper pushing. But even though it didn't require any special skills, I found ways to go above and beyond and improve their processes using my knowledge of Excel and SQL. And I listed my new skills on my LinkedIn profile. And one day, after less than a year of working, I got an email from a recruiter offering me a job as a data analyst for a healthcare company. Again, a recruiter is one of those outside firms that gets paid by companies to find data analysts or to find other in-demand professionals for them. I had never even heard of a data analyst at this point, but apparently they liked the skill set that I had taught myself. And that job paid $55,000. I was pretty excited because that would be a big raise for me. So I applied for the job, I interviewed, and I got the offer. But while I was in the interview process, I thought, okay, if one company is willing to pay me a lot of money for these skills, I wonder what else is out there. In fact, I thought about the fact that usually the recruiting firm makes 20% of the first year salary. So they were paying more than $10,000 to that recruiting firm. So if I went direct to the company, I thought maybe I could have a $10,000 higher salary. So I looked around, I applied to a few other places, and I ended up getting 3 job offers. Like 3 actual letters saying that they were ready to hire me. The highest offer was for $70,000 a year, and I took it. So I went from $38,000 a year to $70,000 a year. In just 11 months, less than a full year, I managed to almost double my salary just because of a few skills that I taught myself on the internet and some creative ways that I found to apply them at my current job. So after 4 years of being miserable and barely making ends meet, I was finally working a job I could be proud of and making a salary I was happy with, and finally getting the respect that I really wanted. And so what I figured out accidentally, I'm going to show you how to do intentionally so that you can get a high-paying job as a data analyst much faster than I did. Now, real quick, let me tell you who this presentation is for. This is for you if you're good with logic and numbers, if this is something that you enjoy, if thinking logically is something that comes naturally to you. You know, I don't expect you to have any of these skills yet, because if you haven't learned them, then how could you? But if you have that kind of logical thinking, if you have a logical mind, then you're going to be good for this kind of position. This is for you if you want to upgrade your career to something with good pay, job security, and lots of potential for growth. And this is also for you if you're just exploring new options. So maybe you don't really know much about what a data analyst career looks like. Maybe you've never even really thought about it before and you're just kind of curious. Well, you're in the right place. You're going to learn a lot about it on this presentation. And now, who this presentation is not for. This is not for you if you don't like numbers, if you don't like logic, if the thought of working with spreadsheets makes you nauseous, and a lot of people are in that boat, then this presentation is not for you. And if that is you, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything. That's different people have different tastes and different ways of thinking and different desires, and that's fine. I'm just saying that if you are not into that kind of thing, if that kind of thing bothers you and you would rather avoid it, then you're going to have a hard time trying to force yourself into this career. Right? And you're probably not going to be very good at it, and you're probably not going to be very successful at it. And even if you do manage to force yourself into it, then you're probably not going to be very happy. So I recommend that if that's not the kind of career that you're looking for, then you look elsewhere. This is not the only opportunity. There are other things. Now, this is not for you if you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. You get paid a good salary doing this, but it's not going to make you a millionaire. I mean, maybe if you save for years, but it's not going to make you a millionaire right away, right? So if you're looking to get rich tomorrow, then you're just going to be disappointed. So this is not for you. And then it's not for you if you're not willing to invest. I know this is kind of difficult for some people, but in order to be successful at this, you have to put in some time. You have to invest some effort that initially, at the beginning, you're not going to get paid for. Right? You have to put in some effort to learn the skills. You have to put in some effort to apply the skills to your unique situation. And that effort is not going to make you any additional money until the time that you get hired for a new job. So you have to invest some time and you have to invest some effort in this. And if that's, if you're not willing to do that, then it's just not going to work for you. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. Number one, the 3 essential skills you need to land as a job as a data analyst and how to learn them. 2, how to frame these skills so you get hired quickly and easily without having to beg people to give you a job. And 3, the key to having the confidence and motivation to follow through until you have your job offer in hand. Okay, so part 1, the 3 essential skills. Now, there are a countless number of software skills that data analysts use that vary with different companies in different industries. But there are 3 categories of software skills that you find with just about every company and every industry. And if you can learn one software in each of these categories, you'll be a strong candidate for 80% of data analyst jobs. So here are the 3 categories. Number 1, spreadsheets. Right? You guys probably, most of you know what a spreadsheet is. It's just a table of data with rows and columns like Excel or like Google Sheets. Number 2 is a database query language. That is it's kind of like a simplified programming language that you write a line of code and it tells a database, which is just a storehouse of data essentially. It just tells the database what data you want to get out of it. So you need a database query language. And then the 3rd skill is a data visualization software. So a data visualization software is something that converts raw data, that is just rows and columns in an Excel file or a database, into pretty charts and graphs and tables and dashboards and that kind of thing. So that's it. If you have these 3 skills, you're qualified to be a full-fledged data analyst. Now, there are multiple different software options in each of these categories, and I'm going to give you the most commonly used software in each category so that you qualify for the maximum number of jobs. So for spreadsheets, I recommend Excel. You guys probably are familiar with Excel. Some companies are moving to Google Sheets, which is getting better, but Excel is still a far more powerful program, and there are a lot more companies are using Excel at this point than are using Google Sheets. So I recommend that you learn Excel before you learn Google Sheets or any other one. For query language, I recommend TSQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and that is the coding language essentially that you use to pull data out of a database. It's not the only one, but it's the one that's used by the vast majority of companies. And TSQL specifically is the SQL that's used by Microsoft programs. This one is the most common. There are different kinds of SQL, and they're all really, really similar to each other. So if you learn TSQL and then you go to a company that uses MySQL, for example, which is a different version of it, it's going to be almost identical. But I'm just saying learn TSQL because that's the most common. And then for the data visualization tool, I recommend one called Tableau. Tableau is kind of trendy. It's growing really fast. Like a lot of companies are switching to Tableau. I also noticed that the companies that are using Tableau tend to pay more than the companies that use other softwares. So there's a lot of different competing softwares for data visualization. You might have heard of Cognos or SAP Business Objects or Power BI. Those are all the same idea, but Tableau seems to be the most popular right now and the highest paying, so I recommend that one. Now, there are a ton of other softwares out there, but if you get good at just these three, then you're going to do very well for yourself. And a lot of companies, usually if you know one software in a category, they'll consider it a pretty good substitute for the other softwares in the category. So for example, if you learn Tableau and then you apply for a company that uses Cognos, which is a different data visualization software, then the company is going to see that you know Tableau and say, okay, well that's almost the same as Cognos, so that's probably good enough. Right? I mean, if you're competing directly with somebody who actually has experience in Cognos, then maybe that person's going to have a little bit of an edge on you. But generally speaking, these softwares within the same category are pretty good substitutes for each other. And then you can teach yourself these skills in just a few weeks. Okay, so now let's get into how to learn these three skills. The way that I learn these three skills is what I've called the LPFS method. Now, you guys have probably learned skills before. You don't need me to tell you how to learn something, but if you want to self-teach or learn a skill on your own and actually get hired from it, then it's a little bit different, right? It's a little bit more involved. So I developed this LPFS method to help you do that. So LPFS stands for learn, practice, frame, study. That's the method. So first step is learn. So you want to find courses and tutorials online. Nowadays, learning skills, you can find just about anything. A simple web search will show you a bunch of options. Learning skills is something that you can learn just about anything that you want. I mean, you can learn to build a house just by watching YouTube these days. So just, you can find the tutorials. That's the easy part. Then you want to schedule a set time every day or every week to take the courses or to take the tutorials. And this part's important, right? Because if you actually set aside that time and schedule it, then you're much more likely to actually do it. Whereas if you just kind of say, okay, I'll get to it when I have time, then chances are you're not going to have time, right? There's other things that are going to crowd it out. So if you make that commitment in advance, it's very helpful. So that's the first step. Next step is practice. You want to download the software on your computer and practice each lesson after you learn it. There are two reasons you want to do that. Number one, you'll learn much better this way, right? I mean, if you're just watching tutorials or you're just reading a book on how to do something, then most of that information goes in the ear and out the other, right? And so if you practice it as you go along, if you actually implement the things that you're learning as you go along, you just remember it so much better and you learn it in such a more complete way. And then it's also helpful because you'll have examples of your work that you can show or that you can talk about in job interviews, right? So people will ask you, about what you've done, about your knowledge of the skills. And if you can tell them about specific times that you've applied these skills and how you applied them, then that's going to be far more powerful than saying, oh, I just, watched some videos or I read about how to do this, right? You'll actually have some evidence that you know how to do it. So that's the practice step. Next step is frame. You want to add each new skill to your resume and your LinkedIn profile. You want to find a way to massage it into your current job experience. And I'm going to go into detail about how to do that in the next section. And then, optionally, you can add your new courses to the education section of your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So if you feel like you don't have if you're not qualified as far as education, maybe you're worried that companies will want you to have a college degree and you don't have a college degree, then I'm going to show you a pretty cool way that you can kind of circumvent that. You can get around that. So that's the frame step, and then the last step is study. You want to be prepared for hiring managers to test your knowledge of these skills in job interviews. I've been to a lot of job interviews for data analyst jobs, and every single one of them, without exception, has asked me questions about the skills that I know, right? Because I can say that I know a skill on my resume, but they want to test me. They want to know, do I actually know this, right? Do I actually understand it? And so they always ask questions about that. And so you want to be prepared for those questions. So what you can do is just do a web search for SQL interview questions or whatever skill you're working with, and then study the questions that you find and find the answers until you can answer the questions easily without having to look at the answers, right? You just study so that you're ready for the questions when the hiring manager answers them. And that's it. Once you've done this, you have what it takes to ace your interviews and work as a data analyst. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is fun. Like, I find this stuff exciting because you have complete control over your own education, right? You get to control your education directed towards a specific career, right? You can learn a high-paying skill set without having to go to college or trade school, save yourself a ton of money and a ton of time, and you can do it all from the comfort of your own home, right? So, I mean, most people, if they want to upgrade their career, they go back to school. Maybe they go to nursing school, and you have to go into the school and work on dead bodies or whatever they do. They have to work hands-on, or if you want to go to mechanic school, you have to work on cars in the shop, right? Whereas with this, it's all over the computer, so you can do it all from home. And so I actually looked at some of the data analytics courses that are being taught at colleges, and in fact, I found a list of the most affordable online masters in business analytics. Right? So these are the most affordable. These are the cheapest ones that are available in the United States of America. Look, the cheapest one's $13,000, right? And that's only in state. That's only if you live in Texas. Otherwise, you're paying $28,000. By doing this, you get to circumvent this process, right? You get this same education in a fraction of the time and without having to pay $13,000 or more. Now, imagine that you become your own teacher and take control over your own career path, right? You are directing your own study towards a specific career path. You don't really find that in colleges, right? With colleges, you are trusting 2 years or 4 years or 6 years of your life to some professors who probably have never worked in the real world a day in their lives, who've just been in school their whole lives. So you're actually taking control of your own education, your own career path, and you can give yourself a massive raise for doing work that's fun and stimulating. So is this cool? Like, do you guys think this is exciting? I think this is pretty exciting. Let me know in the chat. Tiffany says, so excited to have a direction I'm in control of and not going further into student loan debt. Awesome, absolutely. Oksana says, this is such useful insider information. Very cool, thank you. See, yes, sure, yes it is. This is very cool. I could cry, I'm so happy. I'm glad to hear it. Yes it is, heck yeah, very exciting. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Cool. So at this point, you've learned a lot of great skills, but you still have to apply for the jobs and get the companies to call you for an interview. So that leads us to part 2. How to frame these skills so you get hired quickly and easily without having to beg people to give you a job. So let me know in the chat, have any of you guys ever heard career coaches or like so-called career experts tell you that you have to do things like follow the company on Twitter and like all of their Twitter posts and comment on all of their Twitter posts, or offer to work for free for a while and hope that the company likes you enough that eventually they decide to pay you, or if you heard any advice like this? Maybe I'm the only one. I've seen a lot of this, and it strikes me as just so desperate. Like it's kind of like you're selling your dignity just to kiss the ring of this person that's might give you a job. It just seems ridiculous to me. Tiffany says yes. I was told to befriend and research employees and how they got. Oh yeah. Ruby says yes. Ed says, unfortunately, yes. Yeah, okay. So a lot of you guys have heard this. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay, so if you're in that situation where you feel like you have to do that, right? You feel like you have to schmooze and you have to just kind of degrade yourself in order to get a job, then I would submit to you that the problem is not that you're not dancing enough like a dancing monkey. I would submit to you that the problem is that you're in a career field where the supply and demand is all messed up. Where you're in a career field where there's a ton of people that are chasing a few jobs, right? And so the best way to get out of that is to switch fields. Give yourself a skill set where there are a bunch of companies chasing a few people that have the skill set. Right? Where there are a whole bunch of jobs and a few people that are qualified. You turn it completely on its head and you never have to do any of that degrading stuff that these career coaches are telling you to do. Okay, so now you have these great skills, but you still don't have any experience and you don't have any formal education in the subject. How are you going to get a company to hire you? Well, for me, every job I ever got was a result of 2 things, my skills and my experience. It was never because of a college degree. And this is, I'll tell you a little story. This is a little bit embarrassing for me, but I'll tell you anyway. When I got that first job that I told you about that I called my boring paper pushing job, like the first full-time job that I got, it was just after I had gotten my master's degree. And I got the job really based on some skills that I had taught myself on the internet. And so when I was applying for the job, they told me that the salary range for the position was from $38,000 to $45,000. And so when I finally got the job offer, they offered me $38,000. Right? They offered me dead bottom of the salary range that they had told me. And so this is the embarrassing part. I was like whining to the person on the phone, the HR person, saying, well, I have a master's degree. Shouldn't I get paid more than that? Shouldn't I not get paid the bottom of the range? And the lady, she might as well have just said, wow, you have a master's degree. Well, I got a toy in my Happy Meal. She was a little more diplomatic than that, but basically she told me it doesn't matter. Like, we don't care. We don't care at all about your stupid college degree. We care about the skills that you have. We care about the experience you have. And since I didn't have any experience at that time, I was getting dead bottom of the range. Now, in fact, these days, most data analyst jobs don't even ask for a college degree. I even did a little experiment because I wanted to see if this is true. So I did a search for remote data analyst jobs on LinkedIn, and I looked at the first 10 listings. Of those 10 listings, 2 of them listed a bachelor's degree as either required or preferred. The other 8 didn't mention it at all, right? Didn't say anything about a degree requirement at all. And, I know this isn't a very scientific study, but it gives you an idea. And just in case you want to apply for a job that does ask for a degree and you don't have one, I have a simple workaround. And by the way, I think the reason that companies are more and more saying that they don't require college degrees is because they're kind of being disappointed. Just like people who graduate with college degrees are being disappointed because, like my situation, I couldn't find a job for a whole year with a college degree. And I thought that one was supposed to just fall in my lap as like a reward for sitting in the classroom. Well, the companies are also disappointed because they're hiring people out of college and finding that these people don't know how to do anything, right? They're not really useful. They haven't learned anything useful in college. So at the same time, the students are disappointed by the college degrees. The hiring managers are also disappointed by college degrees. But just in case you do want to apply for one that asks for a college degree, and some of them do, right? There are still some that do. This is what I call the college trick. It's an easy way around this. What you do is you take a free online course from an official sounding university, and there are a lot of these. Like a lot of accredited universities are offering free courses these days that you can take online. You take the course and then you list it on your resume under your education section. And you don't mention that it was on an online course. And that's it. So it looks something like this. Under the education section of your resume, let's say you took a course called Data Analytics from the University of Washington. You finished the course in 2021. So you'd put Data Analytics, comma, University of Washington, comma, 2021, topics, and list the topics that you learned. SQL, Excel, statistical concepts. Right? Pretty easy. Now the reason that this works is because the person hiring doesn't care at all, like I said, about your college degree. The only reason the college degree requirement is listed in the job description at all is because it's some HR policy that generally only the HR people care about. So if you can get past the HR filter, then nobody else is ever going to ask you about it. And I can tell you this from experience. Again, I've been in a lot of data analyst interviews, and nobody has ever asked me about my college degrees. Like, just nobody cares. Anyway, so let's get back to what does matter, skills and experience. You've already got the skills, but you probably don't have much experience, right, at this point in the process. So this is where to apply what I call the dress your resume for the job you want method. Now, you know how people say you should dress for the job you want instead of the job you have? Anybody heard people say that? And so I drew it really expertly here with my stick figure with a tie and top hat. That's about the best I could do for a well-dressed stick figure. But anyway, this is the same idea, except that you're writing your experience on your resume in terms of the job you want rather than the job you have. Now, instead of trying to explain that to you, it's a little difficult to explain. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a job as a forklift operator, and I notice somebody in the comments does have a job as a forklift operator, so this is going to be right on target for you. You go learn Excel, SQL, and Tableau so that you can be a data analyst. If you have a resume showing a bunch of experience as a forklift driver and no experience as a data analyst, it's going to be kind of an uphill battle trying to get hired as a data analyst. So what do? Well, the first thing is to find some way to use your new skills at your current job. It can be something small, and it can be something that your boss didn't even ask you for. So you probably have some computer system telling you what boxes to move and where to move them and maybe who they belong to and when they need to go out, that kind of thing. You might be able to take some data from that system and make a spreadsheet or a dashboard from it. And even put that data into a database software and pull some data from that database using SQL. Now you can list all that experience under your current job. And you can change the job title to anything you want, right? It doesn't have to be your official job title as long as it's a reasonable name for what you do. It is your resume after all. You get to write it in the way that works best for you. And you can emphasize the experience that's relevant to the job you want and de-emphasize the experience that isn't. And by the way, I'm not telling you to lie here. In fact, I really don't recommend that you lie on your resume because it's easy for you to get called out on it later on, right? When you're in the job interview, they can ask you about it and you're going to be kind of stuck, right? So you're not lying about anything. You're just framing it in a way that is what the hiring manager wants to hear. So in this case, your current job section might look like this. So maybe this is what your current resume looks like. It says forklift operator, XYZ Corp, Jan 2016 through present, drove a forklift, helped clean warehouse, packed crates. And it probably looks a little bit better than that, so no offense to the to the gentleman on here that is a forklift driver. It's but this, just like a really basic way of writing it might look like this. So a better way of writing it would look like this. Inventory management specialist, right? Instead of forklift operator, you're an inventory management specialist. Well, what are you doing when you're driving the forklift? You're managing inventory. That's the whole purpose. So what you're doing is you're just changing your job title for a different one that is a little bit less specific, right? But it still describes exactly what you do. The next line is exactly the same. XYZ Corp, January 2016 through present. And then under your experience, you put this. You put created performance reports for management on warehouse operations in Tableau. Wrote complex SQL queries to MySQL database. Delivered various ad hoc reports in Excel. Now, these first three items, these are just the things that you did by yourself. Maybe the boss didn't even ask for them. Maybe you did them just completely on your own initiative. But that's what you put first. That's what you emphasize because that's what the hiring manager wants to hear. Next one, help with daily inventory management operations. Well, how did you help with daily inventory management operations? Well, probably you drove the forklift, right? You drove the forklift to help with the daily inventory management operations, but you're putting it in a way that is, again, it's less specific. It's a way that just sounds better. And then reduced warehouse processing time by 10%. Well, how did you reduce warehouse processing time by 10%? Well, maybe you just drove the forklift 10% faster than the other guys in the warehouse, right? But again, you're framing it in more vague terms, and you're claiming a specific benefit that you've brought to the company. So can you guys see how much better this is? Like how much better this second version is than the first one? And by the way, if you're worried about HR is going to call your employer and ask them about what you do, that they don't really do that, right? If they ask for your employer information, they know that you're currently employed. Like, it's just really, really bad etiquette if they were to call somebody that's your current employer and tip them off that you're looking for jobs, right? So they won't do that. And a lot of times they even ask you, like, is it okay to call the employer? You just say no. It's totally understandable. Cool. Greta says really improved. Marcel says huge takeaway, forklift operator versus inventory management specialist. Cool. Tiffany, yes, absolutely. Marin, really, really improved. Okay, wonderful. Now, for most of you guys on this presentation, you are probably not a forklift driver. And so you can't use this example exactly. And every case is different, and a big part of what I do actually is helping my clients to figure out exactly how to do this for their unique job situation, even if they're unemployed. But I wanted to show you this example because a forklift driver is pretty much the furthest thing from data analyst. So if this method works for a forklift driver, it will work for just about anyone. Okay, so now you know what skills you need, you know how to get them, and you know how to frame them so that you get hired quickly. Now let's get into part 3. Part 3 is the key to having the confidence and motivation to follow through until you have your job offer in hand. Now, how many of you guys have been in the situation where you identified some opportunity that would really change your life, right? That you could really get to a better place in your career, you could really change your health, or you could lose weight, or you could have a better relationship, and you were really excited about it, and you started working towards this new opportunity, but then a week later, or a month later, or 2 months later, you just kind of lost steam. you just kind of petered out. How many of you guys have been in that situation? I know I have. I hope I'm not the only one. Man, I don't see anybody. Maybe I am the only one. Oh, okay. It's probably just the lag. Ed says numerous. Emmanuel, I have 2. John, 100%. Tiffany, with exercise for sure. Yeah, for most people, I think. Findo Doreen says, I'm there right now. Oksana got excited about jobs that end up being bad experiences. Okay, cool. So I'm not the only one. So this section is going to be very helpful for you. I'm gonna give you probably a more in-depth of explanation of where exactly confidence and motivation comes from than probably you've heard before. Now, at my first data analyst job, I worked with another data analyst named Bill. Bill was about 60 years old. He kind of looked like Santa Claus. He had a big white beard, and he didn't have a college degree. He was totally self-taught. And Bill used to complain about his brother a lot. Bill's brother was a never-do-well sort of person who lived in Bill's house and would never get a job. He probably would have been homeless if Bill hadn't taken him in. And, he had been living with Bill for years and just couldn't get a job to save his life. Anyway, one day Bill was talking about his brother, and he told me something that I thought was really interesting. He said that their dad was an alcoholic, and growing up, they were always disappointed. Their dad would say something like, we're going to Disney World next week. But then next week would come, and they wouldn't go to Disney World because dad spent all the money on alcohol. So Bill told me something I never forgot. He said, people who have alcoholic parents learn to never expect anything good in the future because they're only going to be disappointed. And so Bill's brother didn't ever try to do anything with his life because he didn't expect it to pay off. His view of the world was that everything ends in disappointment, so why bother? And I think that this gets at the heart of where motivation and so-called laziness comes from, which we all deal with to some extent. I mean, even if our parents weren't alcoholics, we've all experienced some disappointments in life, right? We've all tried to do something and it didn't work, or we've expected something good in the future and it didn't turn out the way that we wanted. And so we get into that kind of mind state where, we might get excited about something for a moment, but then we lose steam because that doubt creeps in that, maybe this just isn't going to work and I'm wasting my time. So my business coach, Myron Golden, has a great way of illustrating this that I want to share. So full credit to him because this is his illustration. So this is you, my beautiful stick figure here, and these are the facts, right? This is the fact of reality that exists outside of you. And there are 2 ways that you can look at these facts. There are 2 lenses, sort of, 2 attitudes through which you can look at the facts that exist outside of you. One of those is called faith, and the other one is called doubt, right? So both faith and doubt are belief, actually. The difference is that faith is a belief in an outcome that is desirable to you, whereas doubt is the belief in an outcome that is undesirable to you. But both of them are still belief, and both of them deal with the future that has not occurred yet. The future does not exist, right? It does not exist yet at this point in time. It's pure speculation at this point. So there's no right or wrong here, right? There's no between faith and doubt. They're equally valid. There's not one that's right and one that's wrong because they both deal with something that doesn't exist yet. And so you get to choose between the 2, and I recommend that you choose based on which one is going to serve you better. Now, the facts could be something good or they could be something bad. So let's take the example of your dad was an alcoholic, and every time he promised to take you to Disney World, he drank away all the money instead. Right? There are 2 different ways to look at that. The way that Bill looked at it through a lens of faith was that, okay, I was disappointed as a kid, but that was my dad's problem, right? If you become an alcoholic, then things go bad for you and they go bad for your kids. However, if I make good decisions in my life and I apply myself and I study skills that are worthwhile and I do good things in my life, then my life is going to turn out well. Then good things are going to come in my future, right? That's looking at it through a lens of faith. Bill's brother looked at it through a lens of doubt, right? He saw the same facts, exactly the same facts. Dad was an alcoholic and I was disappointed. And so the lens of doubt says, okay, because I was disappointed, therefore the nature of reality is that nothing good ever happens, and if you expect something good to happen in the future, you're just going to be disappointed. Right? And so whether you have faith or doubt in your heart, or in your head rather, filters down to your heart, to your feelings. Right? The faith causes a feeling and doubt causes a feeling. The feeling that's caused by faith is called anticipation, and the feeling caused by doubt is called anxiety. Now, the interesting thing about anxiety is that if you think about what is it like in your body when you have anxiety? Maybe your heart starts beating faster. Maybe you start to sweat. Maybe your breathing is heavier, right? The physical sensation of anxiety is actually exactly the same as the physical effect of hard labor, right? And the reason for that is because what anxiety is wasting present energy on a future outcome that is undesirable to you. You're wasting your energy now thinking about something that might happen in the future that would be undesirable to you. Whereas anticipation is exactly the opposite, right? Anticipation means that you are gaining present energy, envisioning a situation, a future that is beneficial to you, that is desirable to you. I like to think about this like when I was a kid on Christmas Eve. When my parents told me I had to go to bed and I couldn't sleep, I was so full of excitement, I was so full of energy because, why? I had faith that I was going to get all these amazing presents then the next morning, that I was going to get all this great stuff, right? I had this huge anticipation, and because of it, I had a ton of energy, and I couldn't sleep. So if you have faith, it gives you energy. If you have doubt, it robs you of energy. Now, this goes down yet another level. It goes down to the hands, and, make fun of my stick figure hands if you want to here, but what happens, the effect in your hands can be either action or paralysis. So if you have anticipation, that drives you to action. That drives you to doing things. That drives you to doing the things that are necessary to create the beneficial circumstances in your life. Whereas anxiety does exactly the opposite. Anxiety leads to paralysis, right? If you are anxious, then it's very, very difficult to do anything. And even if you try to do something, you're probably not going to do a very good job of it. It's not going to be very productive, right? So see how it's filtering down. If you have an attitude of faith, that creates a feeling of anticipation, which creates action. Whereas if you have a feeling of doubt, that creates a feeling of anxiety, which creates paralysis, right? Then it's very difficult to act. Now, if you notice, there are a bunch of different places here, for lack of a better word, and you really only have very much control over one of these. So if you think about your hands, you can have action or paralysis in your hands. Well, a lot of people say that you should just grind, and you should work these long days, and you should force yourself to do the work, and, rah. But that doesn't really work in practice. I mean, you can get by through just pure self-discipline for a little while, but eventually you're going to run out of steam. Eventually you're going to get tired. You're going to get burnt out. So it's really difficult to do that on the level of your hands, at least for a sustainable amount of time. Now, at the level of your heart, it's very difficult to make yourself feel something that you don't feel, right? If you feel anxiety, you can't really just wave a magic wand and make yourself feel anticipation. It's very difficult to do. And then the facts are outside of you. You don't have any control at all over the facts outside of you. I mean, through your action, you can change the facts in the future, but the facts right now, you're stuck with them, right? So really the only place that you have any control really at all is in your mind, is in your attitude, in the lens through which you view the outside world. You can choose whether to have faith or to have doubt, right? You can choose how you interpret the facts outside of you. You can't change the facts, but you can change your interpretation of them. And so if you will consciously choose to give up your doubt-based interpretations of the world and switch them for a faith-based interpretation of the world, you will create anticipation in your heart, which will create action in your hands. And note, by the way, that both of these are self-reinforcing cycles, right? So let's say that you have doubt. You see some opportunity presents itself to you, and you say, oh, that'll never work. I'm not smart enough. Good things never happen. You know, whatever it is that you tell yourself. You have anxiety, and so you have paralysis. You never do anything. Probably you're worried about bad things happening to you in the future. You're worried about drowning in debt and being bankrupt and the bank taking your house, or you're worried about something terrible happening to you. And so you're paralyzed. So guess what? You can't do anything about it. So the thing that you were worried about happening happens because you had that paralysis. And so your mind sees that and says, see, I told you so. I told you the bad thing was going to happen. I was right. And so that reinforces the doubt, which leads to anxiety, which leads to paralysis. And it's just a cycle that keeps on going and going and going. And so the opposite is true with faith, right? If you believe that something good is going to happen, then you have the energy, you have the anticipation, you take the action, you make that good thing happen, and then your faith sees that good thing happening and says, see, I told you so, right? And that creates more anticipation, creates more action, and it's just a virtuous cycle that continues on and on and on. So what I want you to get from this is that the practical application of this is that motivation comes from faith, laziness comes from doubt. So if you want to stay motivated, turn your doubt into faith. And so the key to staying motivated is to consciously turn your doubt-based interpretations of the facts into faith-based interpretations. So you have to actually notice when you have those doubtful thoughts arise, right? When that voice comes in your head and says, that'll never work, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, nobody likes you, whatever, this opportunity is bad, the things never turn out right, whatever it is, you have to notice that happening, and you have to redirect your thoughts to, instead of envisioning all the bad things that could happen if you fail, envision the good things that can happen if you succeed. Again, both of these are a future that don't exist yet. You get to choose which one you focus on, and I recommend choosing the one that serves you the best, and I think that one is faith. And by the way, you do want to be rational about this, right? The point here is to be honest with yourself. So if somebody sends you an email saying that I'm the Prince of Liechtenstein, and if you send me $10,000, then I'll give you $10 million. Well, you don't want to have faith in that offer because there's no rational basis for it, right? It doesn't make sense. The point is to be honest with yourself. When those thoughts of doubt come up, say, okay, is there a good reason to have this doubt, or is it just because my dad didn't take me to Disney World? Just because I have this expectation of bad things happening in the future. So if you only took one thing from this presentation, I hope it's this, right? Because this will help you become a data analyst, but it'll also help you in every other area of your life. It'll help you with your health, help you with your relationships, just about anything that you possibly want to do. This will just make an enormous difference. Okay, so here's what we've gone over so far. The 3 essential skills you need to land a job as a data analyst and how to learn them. How to frame these skills so you get hired quickly and easily without having to beg people to give you a job. And the key to having the confidence and motivation to follow through until you have your job offer in hand. So let me ask you guys, has this been helpful? Does this make sense? Balaguru says yes. Joanna says yes. Faisal says yes. Maron says yes. Okay, wonderful. Tony says very helpful. Edgar says yes. Rajesh says yes. Sravali, absolutely. Eshitu, it's very helpful. Sarah, very helpful. Awesome. Cool. Now, let me ask you guys a question. I have a program called Data Analyst in 8 weeks where I'm going to take just a few folks and actually coach you through every step of the way to getting a data analyst job within 8 weeks. I want to take a few folks and coach them personally through this process. Is it all right if I just take a moment to tell you about this program? Would that be okay? Let me know in the chat if that would be all right with you. I see yes, yes, sure, yes, 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 please do. Is okay, sure. Okay, wonderful. So my goal for this program is to personally work with you to get you trained and hired as a data analyst in 8 weeks. Now, you guys probably already know if you really want to learn something and be successful at it, you get a coach or a mentor, right? If you want to get fit, you get a personal trainer. If you want to learn to play an instrument, you hire a music teacher. If you want to start a new career, you work with a proven mentor. Basically, you find somebody who has already done the thing that you want to do, who has already gotten the result that you would like to get, and can walk you through the process to getting there. So I've put together a full coaching program where I will personally work with you to learn the skills and get hired as a data analyst. So here's what Data Analyst in 8 weeks can do for you. Get you paid $60,000 to $140,000 per year. Get you great benefits, healthcare, paid vacation, etc. Make it so you can leave your dead-end job and replace it with a career with a ton of growth potential, like we talked about before in terms of getting into management or getting into just higher paid technical jobs like data scientist and database administrator, that kind of thing. It'll make it so that you never have to worry about losing your job again. Because again, when you have this skill set, when you have this experience, it's really easy to find a new job. So you don't ever have to lose sleep about losing a job. It's going to make it so you never have to put up with disrespect from your employer. Your employer is probably not going to disrespect you in the first place, and if they do, then it's pretty easy for you to find a new job. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's going to let you replace your stressful jobs, which are literally destroying your health, with one that's laid back and enjoyable. And by the way, something really interesting that I just learned, when you have stress, it literally turns off your immune system. I didn't know this until recently, but when you have stress, the hormone of stress that comes out of you as a result of being stressed is called cortisol. And what I learned recently is that if you get an organ transplant, let's say you get like a new kidney or something, well, your body's immune system is going to try to attack that new organ, right? It's going to see it as foreign tissue and think that it doesn't belong there, so the immune system's going to attack that tissue. And so, they can't have that, so what the doctors do is they shut down your immune system so it can't attack the new tissue. And they do that by giving you cortisol, by giving you exactly the same hormone that you release when you're stressed out. And so when you're stressed out, you are completely disabling your immune system. And I think it's absolutely criminal, by the way, that the mainstream media is pushing this stress, fear on you all the time, like 24/7, because of a pandemic, because of a disease, right? They're saying, here's this terrible disease, so we are going to push stress on you 24/7 so that we disable your immune system and so that you're more likely to catch the disease and die from the disease. I think it's absolutely criminal what they're doing. But anyway, I don't mean to rant about the media, but I don't recommend watching the news. So you replace your stressful job with one that's laid back and enjoyable. It's going to let you have stimulating work instead of boring routine. You know, and again, this is if this is the kind of work that you like to do. For me, this is like solving puzzles. I love doing this kind of work. This is so much better than just having to do the same thing over and over and over again. There are lots of remote and work from home job opportunities. This is a computer job. They want to be flexible with you because they want you to work for them. So there's a lot of opportunities to work from home. So the 3 things that I see that you need to be successful. Number 1, detailed yet simple to follow training. 2, coaching and personal support. And 3, specific action steps, templates, and worksheets. And I'm going to include all of these in this coaching program. So there are 5 core components to the program. Phase 1 is called Get the Skills. Phase 2 is Get Noticed. And Phase 3 is Get Hired. This makes up your core training. And then there's also going to be a community, which is a private group, and coaching. So I'm going to be personally coaching you the whole way, right? This is all live coaching. This isn't one of those things where, you know, you just watch a bunch of videos and you're on your own. No, this is me working directly with you so that I can help you apply this to your unique situation. And so the community and the coaching make up the support system. So phase 1 is Get the Skills. So in this phase, I'm going to show you the specific concepts to learn. Now, you know, I talked about this in this presentation a little bit, but we're going to get a lot more into detail about what concepts to learn under those 3 skills, right? We're going to talk about what concepts are going to, or you can put your time into learning that are going to get you hired as fast as possible. I'm going to show you how to learn them in the smallest amount of time. I'm going to show you how to fit your learning into a busy schedule. And I'm going to show you how to practice as you go and build a portfolio. This part is not obvious. You know, most people, when they go to learn something, they just kind of read the thing or watch the thing. I'm going to show you a systematic way that you can practice as you go and build your portfolio. So that's phase 1, Get the Skills. Phase 2 is Get Noticed. Here I'm going to show you how to apply your new jobs to your unique job experience. This is where the coaching is so valuable, like the actual coaching, because everybody's experience is a little different. Everybody's situation is a little different. And so we are going to figure out how to apply this directly to your situation. I'm going to give you my exact template for getting past college degree requirements. I'm going to give you my skills-based resume method that gets your resume fast-tracked to the call for interview pile. And I'm going to give you my recruiter magnet LinkedIn method that gets companies calling you, offering you jobs. So that's phase 2, Get Noticed. And then phase 3 is Get Hired. Here I'm going to show you where to find data analyst jobs and how to recognize them when they go by other names, because there's a bunch of other names that they use other than just data analyst. I'm going to show you how to find the jobs that are badly listed, right? Some companies don't know how to list their jobs very well, and so they're a little bit difficult to find. So I'm going to show you how to find those jobs as well. I'm going to show you the easy way to ace the skill questions in any interview. And in any interview you have, you are going to have skill questions. And I'm going to give you one simple question that I always ask in every interview that you can ask employers that makes it clear that you're the right choice for the job. So that's phase 3, Get Hired. Then the community is a private members-only Telegram group. Telegram is a messaging app. It's similar to WhatsApp. And so it's a private group where you can ask questions and get support. I will see your message usually within the day and be able to answer any question for you. You can get accountability, and it's awesome for networking and job sharing. So, for example, I get emails and I get calls from recruiters all the time asking me if I want a job. And so if I get a call from a recruiter, they'll ask me, am I looking for a job? I say no. And then pretty much every time their next question is, okay, well, do you know anybody who is looking for a job? And so if you're in the group, then I can refer those jobs to you. And then once you get hired, then when you get those calls, you can refer those jobs to other people in the group. Like, it's an amazing opportunity for networking. And then the coaching. You're going to get weekly live support for 8 weeks. You're going to get direct access to me. We are going to be working with each other for this whole time. Again, this is not something where you watch a bunch of videos and you're on your own. No, this is us working together so that you get to your result as fast as possible. So here's a recap of everything you'll get with this program. Phase 1, get the skills. Phase 2, get noticed. Phase 3, get hired. That makes up the core training. The community, that's the private group. And the coaching, that's personal coaching, live coaching, where I'm going to help you through every step of the process. That makes up the support system. So let me ask you guys, how much would it be worth to you? Let's say that you get a raise from $40,000 to $70,000. Well, that's $30,000 in just the first year, right? And you can change the numbers a little bit depending on your situation. After 5 years, that's $150,000. After 20 years, that's $600,000, right? $600,000 that if you don't do this, if you just stick with the place that you're at, that's $600,000 you're just leaving on the table. And that's not even considering all the added benefits and how much healthier and happier you're going to be and how many medical bills you're going to avoid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it would be fair to say that this program is at least $5,000. It is worth at least $5,000. Wouldn't you agree? Like, that's a fraction of the extra money that you'd make in just the first year, right? You'd make that back in a couple of months. So $5,000, if all this did was to get you out of debt in half the time, would it be worth $5,000? And by the way, I'm not going to charge you $5,000. Actually, I've got a special deal for you. But I'm just asking, wouldn't it be worth $5,000? If all this did was let you ditch stressful jobs forever and save your mental and physical health, would it be worth $5,000? If all this did was give you the confidence to quit any job knowing that you can get another one at any time, would that be worth $5,000? If all this did was let you take a couple extra vacations every year without having to worry about money, would that be worth $5,000? I think so. So the investment into the Data Analyst in 8 Weeks coaching program is going to be $5,000. However, since this program is brand new, I'm going to offer you a special deal. If, when you get your first job offer as a data analyst, you will send a message and let me screenshot it and use it for my marketing, then I'm willing to offer you a big discount on this. So when you get a job offer, I want to hear about it. I want you to send me a message. I'm going to use that little snipping tool they have in Windows, take a snip of it, and you copy and paste that all over my marketing so that I can say, hey, look at this job that Oksana got. Look at this job that John got. Look at this job that Tony got. Right? If you guys are willing to do that in return for a big discount, write deal in the chat. Like, is that something that seems that you'd be willing to do? And by the way, if you're worried about privacy, I'm happy to black out your last name so that nobody's going to be like contacting you and asking you questions or anything. I just want to have that evidence that it's working. Sarah says deal. Manuel says deal. Tiffany says deal. John says deal. Officiale says deal. Simon says deal. Yosemite deal. John deal. Awesome. So if you're willing to agree to those terms, then you can get your seat now for just $14.95. Go to dataanalystin8weeks.com. So just want to open a new tab in your browser, type in dataanalystin8weeks.com, and you can get in now for $14.95. Now, I'm only taking 20 people. This is a live coaching program, and so I'm only one guy. I can only take so many people. I don't want to have to divide my attention between a bunch of different people and just disappoint everybody, right? So I want to keep it fairly small so that I can give everybody the attention that they need to be successful. So I have to cap it at 20 people that I'm taking from this presentation. So go to dataanalystin8weeks.com, and if you are one of the first 20, then you'll get in. This is first come, first serve. So if you see an order form, that means that there's still spots. Whereas if it's already filled up, you'll see a page that says, sorry, this program is currently sold out. So open another tab in your browser, type in dataanalystin8weeks.com. If you see an order form, that means there's still spots available as of that time. Now, for the 20 people who get into the program, you're also going to get these bonuses. Bonus 1, the expert's guide to finding remote jobs. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love working remote, right? I love being able to get up in the morning, sleep in late, roll out of bed in my pajamas, and not even have to get dressed and walk over to my computer and not have to walk or not have to drive to work. Like, to me, that's awesome. I like to be able to travel wherever and whenever I want. So I've seen a lot of these remote jobs. I've worked remote jobs, and so I've created as a bonus for you guys the expert's guide to finding remote jobs, where I'm going to show you how to find and land data analyst jobs that are fully remote, that let you work from home or travel wherever you want. Or if you want to be like those fancy, pretentious people typing away at their laptops in the coffee shop, you can do that too. I admit that I do that sometimes. So that's going to be included for free. That's a value of $9.95, but that's going to be included for free in this program. Second bonus, the Be the Exception method for beating age discrimination. So if you, a lot of older folks are having trouble competing in the job market because there are certain negative stereotypes that are applied to them. And so I created this bonus where I'm going to show you how to recognize some of the negative stereotypes that get applied, often unfairly, to some job applicants due to their age. And again, I'm very familiar with these negative stereotypes because I'm part of the younger generation, right? Like, I know what we're talking about. And so I show you how to recognize the stereotypes and how to make it clear from the beginning that these stereotypes do not apply to you. So that's a value of $19.95. You're going to get a third bonus, the Ultimate Productivity System Training. In this bonus, I'm going to show you my method for making every minute of your work time super productive, especially when you're juggling a lot of responsibilities. So maybe you have responsibilities at work, maybe you have responsibilities with your family, maybe you have responsibilities with your church or your social organization. It's difficult to juggle all those things, and then to be able to learn new skills on the side, that's yet another thing that you have to juggle, right? It's kind of difficult. And so I've gotten very good at doing this, and I've created a system that keeps me in line, basically, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. This is a $9.95 value included for free in this offer. And then for bonus 4, the $100,000 salary negotiation guide. And in this bonus, I'm going to show you how to negotiate a higher salary every time you get a new job. If you negotiate just $5,000 more, then over 20 years, that's $100,000 in extra money, right? Thus the name $100,000 salary negotiation guide. So that's a value of $5,000 in just the first year. So here's everything that you're going to get with this offer. You're going to get phase 1, get the skills. Phase 2, get noticed. Phase 3, get hired. You're going to get the community. That's the private group where you can get accountability. You can ask questions and get answers fast. Where you can share jobs and networking. You're going to get the coaching. Again, this is me supporting you every step of the way. This is not just watch a bunch of videos or read a bunch of stuff and then you're on your own. No, this is like me holding your hand and getting you to the point where you get hired. You're going to get the first bonus, the Expert's Guide to Finding Remote Jobs if you want to work remote. You're going to get the second bonus, the Be the Exception method for beating age discrimination, if that's something that applies to you. You're going to get the third bonus, the Ultimate Productivity System. You're going to get the fourth bonus, the $100,000 salary negotiation guide. So for a total value of $13,985. Go to dataanalystin8weeks.com. If you're one of the first 20 people to get in, you'll get in for just $14.95. Now, Data Analyst in 8 weeks is for you if you want a mentally stimulating career. This is for you if you want to have control over what companies you work for, and instead of just, a lot of people are in the position where they just have to accept any job that comes their way, whereas you get to discriminate, right? You get to choose between different companies that are all vying for your attention. Data Analyst in 8 weeks is for you if you're tired of begging companies to hire you and you're tired of doing degrading things like having to follow the companies on social media and waste all your time for something that's probably never going to pay off, right? If you're tired of that, this is for you. Data Analyst in 8 weeks is for you if you want a career with massive growth potential, including a bunch of different directions. It's for you if you want to be able to work from home or travel wherever you want. This is for you if you want a job that's easy and not labor intensive. It's not going to break your back. This is for you if you want a job that's laid back and not destroying your body with stress. If if you're working in a call center and you have people screaming at you all the time because of some problem that you didn't even cause, or you're working in a restaurant and the cooks are screaming at you to get the food out faster, right? It's terrible for your body, right? That stress is awful. If you want a laid back job, this is so much better. This is for you if you want to be respected at work. This is for you if you want to have the confidence that your job can't be outsourced or automated. This is a job that it requires a lot of communication, right? You are the go-to person for the management in order to get a view of the data. And so if they're going to hire somebody on the other side of the world, well, that's just not going to work for them, right? It's going to be very difficult. So that doesn't get outsourced very much, and it's different every day. So it's basically impossible to automate, right? There's some parts of it are automated, like the data visualization software that we talked about. That is the automation, but you are the person who is controlling the automation. You are the master of the robots, right? So your job isn't just going to be automated away. This is for you if you want to work in a field where there are more jobs than people and it's growing fast. And the number of jobs is growing faster than the number of people, right? I showed you all those articles at the beginning about these companies freaking out about this data skills gap because the gap isn't going away, it's getting wider. Like, it's getting worse. From their perspective, this is like a catastrophe that they need all these people and they can't find them. For us, it's awesome. Now, data analyst in 8 weeks is perfect for office workers, for people who work in the trades, for people who are having trouble finding work, right? Having marketable skills that are in high demand will make it a lot easier for you to find work. This is awesome if you're a college student or you're a high school student. I wish that I had found this when I was in college, or even better when I was in high school. I would have saved years of my life. I would have avoided a ton of unnecessary debt, and I would have been making money a lot faster. This is great for you if you're a customer service rep. This is perfect for restaurant workers. I mean, when I was in college, I had a lot of restaurant jobs, and that was stressful. It's like everybody's constantly in a hurry. Everybody's constantly yelling at each other so they get the food out like 15 seconds faster. It's terrible. This is perfect for retail workers, perfect for retirees looking to get back to work, but in a relaxed environment. I talk to folks fairly often that are retirement age or getting towards retirement age, and they don't want to just sit on their thumbs all the time. They don't want to just completely quit, but at the same time, they would like, to be in a relaxed environment, right? So this is perfect. It's a perfect medium. This is perfect for anyone else who likes numbers and logic and wants a great career. So if you would like to get in, while there are seats available, you can secure your seat for $14.95. Just go to dataanalystin8weeks.com. Again, just open a new tab on your browser. If you're using Firefox or Opera or whatever it is, just hit new tab, type in dataanalystin8weeks.com, and if you see an order form, that means that there's still spots available. Now, something kind of cool that I got for folks in the U.S. Unfortunately, I could only get this for people in the U.S. PayPal is offered us a special deal where they will pay the course for you in full, and you don't have to pay it back for an entire 6 months, and they're not even going to charge you any interest, right? So again, this is U.S., so I'm sorry to everybody who's outside of the U.S. This is PayPal's terms, not ours. But if you would like to be able to get in and be able to pay it back when you're making more money, then that's a great way to do it, and basically do it almost completely on your terms, right? You can start paying today, or you can wait 6 months and not pay a penny. So if you want to do that, that's an option. So when you go to dataanalystin8weeks.com, you're going to see a page that looks like this. It has the details about the course on the left here. On the right, you're going to put in your billing details. You're going to put in your first name, put in your last name, put in your email, your billing address, city, postal code, country, and state. And then this is important. This is the agreement that we talked about. You're going to check this box. It says, I agree to notify Chris Shoup, that's me, when I get my first job offer as a data analyst, and give him permission to use a screenshot of my message in his marketing materials. So by checking that, you are agreeing to this as terms of this special price. So click on that and then scroll down to payment details. You're going to put in your, well, you can do it two ways. You can do credit card or you can do PayPal. If you want to just do credit card, you put in your credit card number, expiration, CVV, hit submit payment. If you want to do PayPal, you click on PayPal first, and then it's going to lead you to log into your PayPal account. And that's how, if you want to do the PayPal credit, you do it that way. And then once you're in, either way that you go, you're going to see something that says, congratulations, you're enrolled in the program. Check your email for the full details, course schedule, and group link. You should get 2 emails from me at that point. You should get one email with just welcoming you and telling you what are the next steps, what are the things that you can get done right now. And then you're going to get a second email that will give you the link and the login information for the members area where you're going to find most of the materials for the course. So if you would like to do that, if you would like to be one of the first 20, go to dataanalyst8weeks.com. You can secure your seat now for $14.95. So go ahead and do that now. I'm going to give you guys just a second. Again, if there's still spots left, and in just a moment, I'm going to start taking questions. So if you would like to ask a question, then let me know in the chat here. Okay, let me take a look at questions here. Okay, Jonathan says, what times are the live training? Good question. There are going to be course materials where I'm going to go over the basics of how to do everything, and that's going to be completely on your own schedule whenever you want to do that. And then every week we're going to do the live training Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's when I can help you with your unique situation. That's where I can help you with your resume, where I can help you apply the skills to your knowledge, everything like that. That's going to be 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. Oksana says, I'm interested to have the money but not set up to pay online, have to buy a prepaid credit card. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, no worries. If that's something that's going to take some time, you're welcome to send me an email. I can, reserve something for you. Jeez, the chat keeps jumping on me, so sorry if I'm a little disorganized here. Tony says, would you reply to email? Yeah, actually, I'll just give you my email here. So, Chris. There you go. I put my email in the chat there. So yeah, you're welcome to email me if there's something that I could help you with. Tiffany says, if you fill up, do you pretty much do this year round? Probably. I'm not sure yet. This is something new. Again, this is when I said that this is a $5,000 program, I meant that, right? That this is going to be a $5,000 program. Just since this is brand new, I'm offering it at a fraction of that. So yeah, probably it will be at least for a while. John says, I would try to do the studying on my own and hope to do this next year or the next time I see this, because I don't have any money right now. It seems very legitimate and want to join the community. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being on. And by the way, everybody who's on, whether or not you decide to join the coaching program, I'm super happy to have you. Oksana says, do you take prepaid credit cards? Probably. I actually don't know the answer to that. Yeah, sorry, it's, I go through a payment processor and I don't know what exactly their rules are, but I would think so. I don't see why not. Sajid says, SQL software needs software to download in our system, so are you providing software? Yes, I'm going to show you, well, I'm not providing it exactly, but I'm going to show you where to get all the software that you can use for free. So not only the SQL, but all of the software, I'm going to show you how to get it all for free. Sarah says, I just got a new job from the hours of 6 a.m. to 2:30. How would it work out? Yeah, that'd be perfect. Where our course, or you can take the actual course part of the material, you can do whenever you like, and then our live calls are going to be at 9 p.m. So I think that would work well for you. Michael says, which OS do you recommend for this course? Good question. I have Windows. I use Windows. And there's actually, there are a few folks that are taking the course already and that are using Mac. And so there's been a little bit of some difficulty figuring that out, but we've got it. We've got everything that working perfectly on Mac at this point. So really either way. I mean, if you're using like Linux or something, then I don't know what to tell you, but whatever it is, I'm pretty sure we can figure it out. Jonathan says, is there a money-back guarantee? Good question. I don't offer refunds because, if you're getting into this thinking about refunds, then it's like you're kind of already thinking about failure. And so I don't encourage that, and it also kind of encourages people that take advantage. But what I do guarantee is that I will continue working with you until you get the job that you want, right? Until you get hired at a job that you're happy with. And so it's an 8-week program. However, if you need support beyond 8 weeks, then I will give you support beyond 8 weeks as long as it takes, at no extra charge, right? So that's my guarantee. I will stay with you until you get the result. Tony says, I replied to your email. I hope you'll notice it and reply. Yeah, any of my emails you can reply to and I'll get them. I am Canadian. Oh, very cool. I'm half Canadian. My dad's Canadian. Tiffany, sounds good. Thank you. Cool. Oksana says, what kind of home computer equipment do I need? Just basically any computer. Yeah, I mean, if I know that, we have this figured out for Windows and for Mac. So yeah, that should be it. I mean, as long as you can type and you have a mouse, that's about all you need. Yosemite Sam says, this may be a stupid question. Are you working as a data analyst right now? Is it a basic 9-to-5 that pays well and is work from home? You don't have to answer this one, but how much do you make? Yeah, I'll answer that for you. No, I don't work as a data analyst right now. I was doing it for years, and I decided that I wanted to go into business for myself, which, by the way, is a lot easier to do if you have a work from home position and you're making a fair bit of money that you have to invest into your new business, right? I mean, it's very difficult to go from working long hours and making very little money to having a business because you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, and you don't have the money, right? Whereas if you are a data analyst and you're working pretty, it's not really stressful, you're not working long hours, and you're making good money, then it's so much easier to invest time and money into a business. But I'm sorry, that's kind of beside the point. But yeah, no, I'm not a data analyst right now. It is a 9-to-5 job that pays well and works from home. My last data analyst job was a 9-to-5 job that paid $85,000 a year and was work from home. And honestly, it was even though it was so-called 9-to-5, I was really working like 2 or 3 hours a day. Right, so because when you're working from home, nobody's looking over your shoulder. It's basically they have certain work that they expect you to get done, and if you do the work, then they don't really care how long you're working. Tony says, I have to leave now, I have to work. Well, thank you for being here, Tony. I was glad to have you. Thank you for the great presentation. Absolutely. John says you might consider doing this seasonally or 2 times a year. Since this is fairly new and the market is in need, this is highly lucrative for both you as an educator, us, and business partners. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this has a lot of promise all around. I appreciate that. Eshit2 says, thank you, Chris. This is a useful presentation, but I'm not able to sign up for your course at this time, but we'll consider if you are offering year-round. Okay, well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate your feedback. Kendra says, is a data analyst the same or similar to a business analyst? Yeah, that's a good question. No, they're not. Well, they're not the same. They're somewhat similar, and they get confused a lot. In fact, a lot of companies will say business analyst when they mean data analyst. So what a business analyst is normally is it's somebody that kind of helps is a go-between between the managers and the IT people. So when they're planning IT projects, the managers don't really understand IT very well, and the IT people generally don't understand business very well. So the business analyst is kind of the translator between the two sides. Whereas a data analyst is pulling data and creating charts and showing the data to the managers. So it's not the same thing, but they do get confused a lot. So good question. Color Your World says, nice initiative for you to share this with others. There's definitely a need for data analysts. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Kendra says, would the class prepare me to be a business analyst as well? No, not really. This is definitely about being a data analyst. I've never been a business analyst, so I mean I know what it is just because they get confused so much. But yeah, this is definitely the data analyst track. Michael says, which pays better in the market, data analyst or data science? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was actually going to do a video about this. Data scientist usually pays more. Because data scientist is a much more difficult, a much more complex position. The basic difference is that a data analyst shows the data that already exists, like the data from the past, like how much did the company sell last month, or that kind of thing. Whereas the data scientist tries to predict the future. So they have to pull all the data from the past and then create computer programs, create like mathematical algorithms that guess what the stock price or whatever is going to do in the future. So data science has to do both, right? And as you can probably guess, trying to predict the future is a whole lot more difficult than just describing what happened in the past, pulling the data that already exists. So because of that, data science is much more difficult. There's a lot more skill involved. It's much more complex. Like a lot of people doing data science are like PhD physicists, right? So data scientist pays more, but data analyst is something that's a whole lot easier to get into. And actually, more companies hire data analysts than data scientists, because, if there's this lack of data, and there's a lack of data analysts and data scientists. But if a company is in a position where they can't even figure out what happened in the past, like they can't even talk about the data they already have, how the heck are they going to figure out what's going on in the future, right? So the data analyst comes first. And if you want to be a data scientist at some point, by learning to be a data analyst, you are kind of giving yourself half the skill set, and you're giving yourself a much better jumping off point than if you try to go to data scientist right off the bat. So good question. Oksana says, I have had paid training that was less useful than this presentation. Cool. Well, thank you. I mean, I'm not happy that your paid training was not useful, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yosemite Sam says, thanks for answering, Chris. I work 9 to 5 and have class on Monday and Wednesday nights. How much time do I have to invest in this course? Would like to know so I can think about fitting in my schedule. Yeah, great question. The course itself is only going to be like 1 or 2 hours a week, but you're going to have to spend extra time gaining the skills, right? You're going to have to spend extra time priming your resume, applying for jobs. So it's how much time you can put into it. So I put as a baseline 5 hours a week. If you can put 5 hours a week into this, then you'll do great. And so it's obviously that's going to depend on everybody's individual situation. But the point is that if you can dedicate a few hours per week, even if it's only 2 hours a week, right? If you can only dedicate 2 hours a week, as long as you can maintain that consistently, it's going to take you longer to get hired. But if you can maintain the consistency, then it'll happen eventually. So, but if you can do 5 hours a week, then that's excellent. Tiffany says, how many hours per week do you suggest we set aside for this? 20, 40? Yeah, if you can put, that's a lot. Like I just said, 5 hours a week. If you can put 20 or 40, then that would be amazing, right? Then you get this done fast. But yeah, that's definitely like a lot more than I would expect anybody to put in. But if you can, then that's great. John says, I would say 20 hard hours would do it, but I have savviness in computers already. Yeah, absolutely. Probably some of you guys are going to be in a position where you know some of this stuff, and there's some stuff that you can skip, and you can get this done a little faster, which is great. But I'm creating this assuming that you're starting at nothing, right? That maybe you know how to send an email and you know how to type on a keyboard, like that's it. So if you have basic computer skills, then that's the point that we're starting from. But if you have more skill than that just means you get to skip a little bit at the beginning. Emmanuel says, hi Chris, thanks for this wonderful seminar. The problem is I'm retired with good health but very limited income. This is my only obstacle. Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that, and certainly I understand. I mean, yeah, I totally understand. Jonathan says, thank you, just signed up. Awesome. Well, great to have you, Jonathan. Glad to have you in the program. John says, oh, wow, 5 hours. That answers a lot of questions. Cool. Color Your World says, is there a replay or slides for this presentation? I'm sorry I missed the first 50 minutes. Yeah, there is. There is. I will send out the replay tomorrow. So if you're on my email list, then you'll get the replay tomorrow. Anybody else has questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm really not in a hurry here. I'll answer any questions you got. I see there's a bunch of folks still on here. And by the way, if you're kind of hesitating, you see this and you think, oh, this is a great opportunity. Like this would really work well for me, but you're hesitating. Let me first say this: if if this is not the right opportunity for you, then don't go for it, right? Like I'm trying to say over and over again, if this is not the kind of thing that you're interested in, then you're probably not going to be able to stay motivated. You're probably not going to be successful. And I only want folks in the program who are really going to be going to be motivated, that actually like doing this. And even if you are successful, you're going to kind of be miserable. So I don't recommend that you get in if it's not the opportunity for you. But if it really is the opportunity for you and you're still hesitating, I would just think about what happens normally when you're in that situation. I mean, I think a lot of us have that situation where we see something that we're like, this is the opportunity for me. I really want to do this. This is great. Let me think about it. And so you think about it, and you think about it some more, and then you forget about it, and then the opportunity passes you by. And then maybe like a year or 2 years later, you find another opportunity, and you're like, oh, this is great. This is right. Like this is the thing for me. Let me think about it. And so you think about it, and you think about it some more, and then you forget about it, and then that opportunity passes you by. And like this cycle just repeats itself. And like 20 years in the future, 40 years in the future, you're looking back at your life, and nothing really ever changed. And the problem was that, you had opportunities, but you just never jumped on any of them because you always hesitated. You always, it was always let me think about it. And so I would just say, if you're in that situation, and again, if this is not the opportunity for you, I'm the last person to try to convince you to get into it. But if it is, I would just ask you then, is it maybe the time to take action? Anyway, I'll get back to questions. Oksana says, can I join this training again when I have my prepaid credit card? Yeah, let me know. Send me an email and let me know if you want me to reserve a spot for you. I can do that since you're in a unique situation. Mr. Matt says, when does the course start? It starts, the first training call is on Thursday, this Thursday. But if you would like to, I have it set up where the material is recorded, and then we're doing live coaching every week. And so, if you'd like to start this week, then you can start this week. If you'd like to get in now and secure your seat, but you can't start for another 2 weeks or another month, then that's fine too. It's pretty flexible. Edgar says, hey Chris, I just need to leave the link now. Just want to thank you for having me in your data analyst presentation. It's awesome and helpful to guide people how to find a new career through your help. Thanks a lot, Edgar, and thanks for being here. It's great to have you. Tiffany says, so we could be fluent in Excel, TSQL, and Tableau with 5 hours a week times 8 weeks. Is that realistic, or is that just basic knowledge with each? Yeah, good question. This is, again, this is the 80-20 rule. I'm getting you to the point where you can get hired, right? That's the idea, that you can get to the point where you are hireable at that point, and then you're not going to know everything about Excel. You're not going to know everything about Tableau. You'll know almost everything about SQL because that's pretty simple. But yeah, you're not going to know everything, but it's going to be enough to get you hired, and you're gonna learn a lot more as you're actually on the job. I am Rakan says, can please explain again about PayPal credit payment? Yeah, that's if you go to the link, the dataanalyst8weeks.com, you'll see in the order form, you can click on PayPal, you log in using your PayPal account, and it gives you an option of PayPal credit, which means that you don't have to pay anything at first, that they pay it for you, and then for 6 months, you don't have to make any payments, and you don't have to pay any interest. So you can, if you want, you can pay every month until you pay it off. If you want, you can pay nothing for 6 months. If you want, you can wait until you have a job and then start paying out of the excess money that you're making. Just you have a lot of control over how you want to finance it. And this is for the U.S. only. And I think it's subject to credit approval. So, yeah, you can if it doesn't come up, well, if it doesn't come up for you, it probably, if you're outside of the U.S., it probably won't come up for you, and it might make you do a credit check or something. So I hope I don't understand it perfectly, so sorry about that, but I hope that's good enough for you. Sam says, hey Chris, one last question. I want to register, but the only problem for me is I signed a contract for work to work by the end of the year. Would you be able to get me hired around then? Yeah. So let's see, at the end of the year. Trying to think how that would work. Yeah, so would you, I guess the question is, would you be able to take the course material now? Right? Would you be able to go through the course now? And then, if so, then that's what I would recommend, is you go through everything now. You you learn the skills now, you get your resume ready now, and then at the end of the year, when you're ready to find a new job, then absolutely I would support you with that. Oksana says, we'll send you an email. Thanks. Awesome. Alex says, thanks for the motivational presentation. I will definitely give this some thought. I'm looking for options right now, and by your presentation, it's something that I will consider. Thanks again. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Sam says, yes, learn the course now. Okay. Yeah, that would work great. Ed says, you've given me enough information on this presentation. Get me started. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Any more questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to take off this jacket. I'm getting hot. My wife says I should wear a jacket so I look official. Michael says, do you envisage any kind of rating in the course? How do you decide if A did well but not B? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Like, do I grade people based on their on the what they're doing? If that's what you're asking, then no, I'm not grading people. But what I will do is go through everything with you, right? So I will help you put together your resume, and so you put together a resume using the steps that I give you. I'll go over it and help you improve it, right? So the idea is just to get you as good as you can be. And if you're having any difficulty with the course material, I'll help you to understand it. Just anything that you need. I want to get you results. Right, that's the idea. I'm not trying to. This isn't like school where you get an A if you answer the questions right. No, this is about getting you a job. It's about getting you hired. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if I understood you correctly. Color Your World says, is this your first batch of students? Basically, I have some students already that are 2 weeks through the course. But I haven't had anybody that's completely finished it yet. This is something that's new. Oksana says, what industries need data analysts? I get the impression there are a lot of them. Yeah, all of them, really. Just about any company that has more than like 10 employees is going to need data analysts. I mean, just me, I've worked in banking. I've worked for a software company. I've worked for a healthcare company. I've worked for, Nielsen is a TV ratings company. Pretty much every industry you can think of, they need data analysts because they all have data, whether they have customer data or they have marketing data or they have financial data or whatever kind of data they have. and they need somebody that knows how to deal with the data. So good question. Michael says, at what point do you say one has completed the course? Well, you've completed the course after 8 weeks. But again, this is focused on getting you hired. So if you get hired after 6 weeks, then you don't need the next 2 weeks. Or, if it takes you longer than 8 weeks, again, I have that guarantee that I will stay with you until you get hired. So, yeah, so this really, this is completely results oriented. I want you to get hired. And John says, thank you for the in-depth knowledge and insight. I have to take off though, but will not think about it. I will start studying tomorrow. Soon I will join this, but with experience. Take care. Cool. Well, thanks for being on, John, and thanks for being such a perfect example with my forklift operator example. Let me go check if there are still spots left here. Yes, there are still spots left. So if you would like to get in, that is still available. Anybody got questions, go ahead and let me know. I see there's still some folks on here. Happy to answer any of your questions for you. Tommy says, hi Chris, could you take Oksana Jones' question again? What industries need data analysts? Yeah, all industries. Well, any industry that uses data, right? Any industry that if they sell something, right, then they keep customer data, they keep sales data, they want to know, what sold the best, in what circumstances did they sell, they want to know who is their best customer. Basically, every company, right, has to keep that data, and every company wants to get insights from that data, wants to know what that data has to tell them. So every industry needs data analysts. So I've worked in like 4 or 5 different industries as a data analyst just myself. And it's something that's very easy to jump industries too, by the way. So, if you have, that's very good in the case of a recession, right? If you're in a recession, then maybe one industry doesn't do so well, and you have to jump industries. Well, it's actually pretty easy to do that as a data analyst because the skills are similar, and again, because you don't have a lot of competition. So if you are a data analyst for a software company, let's say, and you want to be a data analyst for a healthcare company, you can make that transition because the healthcare company will take any data analyst they can get, right? Because they're hard to come by. So they would probably prefer somebody that had healthcare industry experience, but if they can't find that person, which is likely, then they'll take anybody that has the skills. Anybody else got questions, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to get off and get a beer. I think I'm going to get a beer. Seems like a good idea right now. Kurobil says, in your opinion, is 8 weeks reasonable for a beginner who has 10 hours a week? Yeah. If you can put in 10 hours a week, then definitely. Yeah, I'm kind of use as a baseline 5 hours a week, just in case you have a whole lot of other work. Maybe you have family responsibilities. You don't have a whole lot of time. But if you can put in 10 hours a week, then that's awesome. These skills aren't really that much to learn, honestly. It's just most people don't know them because most people don't know about them. That's the biggest thing. And a lot of people too are intimidated because they think, okay, well, yeah, I can learn the skills, but what do I do with the skills, right? How do I get somebody to hire me based on just skills that I've learned myself? So that's a big focus of this coaching program, is to apply them to your unique situation so that you are creating that experience for yourself. So you're not just going to companies and saying, hey, here's this thing I learned, pay me all this money. Ben says, does a person have to be really well versed or very proficient in math, science, or Excel to do this job? Yeah, good question. You have to know really basic math. Like, that's it. If you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, then that's it. You really don't even have to know how to do that. Because the computer does it all for you. You just have to know how they work, basically. If you know what a percentage means, like that's about as advanced as it gets. The rest is just kind of, it's just let the computer do it for you. Now, we talked about data science earlier. If you want to be a data scientist, they do some pretty advanced math. So that's different. But a data analyst, the math is very basic. Science, you don't have to know science at all. There's no science at all involved in this. And Excel is important, but that's going to be part of the program. Is getting your Excel levels up to the point where you can do this. That's probably the most important skill. And so, you definitely have to have the Excel skills to do the job. And so that's going to be a big focus of the program. Any more questions? Go ahead and lay them on me. Well, I'm going to wait another, let's say, 5 minutes, and if nobody else has a question, then I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here and get myself a beer. Ben says, would there ever be a time when this job wouldn't be relevant? Not that I can envision. I mean, it's just such a basic need of companies that they need to know what their data is telling them. Yeah, I can't think of any reason that it would ever be irrelevant. I mean, unless there's a big nuclear war and we all kill each other. That's about the only situation I can think of when it wouldn't be relevant. Well, I'm going to get off in another 2 minutes, so if anybody's got questions, now's the time. There are still spots in the coaching program. I just checked. So as of 10/12, there's still spots. And by the way, if you're watching this on the replay, the same deal applies. If you go to dataanalystinweeks.com, if you see an order form, that means there are spots available. If you don't see an order form, you'll see the page that says there are no spots available. Jonathan says, you go for beer, I go for wine. It's that time. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One more minute, and then I'm getting off and getting my beer. Michael says, Chris, thank you very much for your very rewarding presentation. I appreciate your delivery. I certainly would like to enroll. Thanks. Well, thanks a lot, Michael, and I'm super happy to have you. Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm excited for this. Okay, well, it's 10:13. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So thank you guys for being here, and to the folks who signed up for the coaching program, congratulations. I'm looking forward to working with you. And for everybody else, I'm glad to have you on this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will hopefully see you guys soon.